Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wonderful people of YouTube. Uh, so back again. It's Monday, and well, what am I going to talk about today? I don't think I'd be a very good American or libertarian if I didn't address President Biden's comments on guns he made last week in his epic speech. Well, I don't know if I call it epic. kind of a kind of adult idiot. Some of the shit he said, but what's new? It's gun control, right? It is what it is. Nothing new there. We know that. So I'm gonna start off today by reading the Second Amendment. Okay? And that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna jump right in and we're just gonna kind of go from there. Okay? So, Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, it says it right here. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't understand how that can be misinterpreted, but some people do. They say, well, that they weren't talking about these kind of weapons, or they look at the militia part and they're like, well, a well-regulated militia means an army. So the army should have weapons, but citizens should not. It's exhausting to sit here and rebuke these people because they don't listen to anything. They clearly cannot read. It's pretty straightforward. It is a single sentence. I don't know how much simpler it could be. There's that meme of with the writer or some of the founding fathers going, how do we make this perfectly clear? Well, shall not be infringed seems to be about right. And yet some people still manage to fuck it up. President Biden included, right? So I don't understand that. So, but that's what he is, and you can go to his website, his campaign website, and look through his policies. So, in his speech, he talked a lot about gun deaths. And he obviously made the fucking retarded argument that you're not going to fight the government because we have F-15s and nukes. Well, you're right, they have a lot more than F-15s and nukes. But one, you're not going to nuke your own people. Not going to happen. Even if you didn't like your people and you resort to that, you would then be living in a nuclear wasteland. So whatever was left after you quelled your rebellion, you would just have a bunch of Chernobyls all over the place. You think that's gonna work? One, you're only fucking yourself. Two, pretty sure the international community would have a large issue with that. But if you're so inferior and insecure in your seat of power, I get it. But to a bigger point about, well, you're not gonna be able to fight off your government with your AR-15. This is coming from one of the, same people that tell you that a small group of a few thousand people almost overthrew our democracy, and they didn't have a single fucking weapon. No, I didn't stop talking. I'm letting that sink in. How fucking stupid that argument is. So, on one hand, it's either you don't have enough weapons to fight your government, or you don't even need weapons to overthrow your democracy. So which is it, Biden? Which fucking is it? You figured out yet? Yeah, that's right. You're a fucking moron. it's a constitutional. Okay, so the thing about the Constitution is the Constitution says that these are your rights and they're granted to you by basically God. You can argue language, whatever, and that it's the government's responsibility to protect the rights. The rights don't come from the government, so the government can't regulate these. That's why you have free speech and all this other shit. But they're recognizing them as inalienable natural rights that you have when you're born. It's not up to the government to give those to you and grant you these rights. They are yours at birth. That's why they shall not be infringed. So in the Second Amendment, they're like, shall not be infringed, obviously. So it's not the government's job to allow me to buy weapons. Okay? We got that? So yeah, the argument, well, they have F-18s or nukes is stupid. One, you're not going to nuke your own people. Two, you have already said that our democracy is almost destroyed by people who didn't even have guns. So telling me I'm not going to be able to fight off my government with my AR-15. Don't believe it, folks. And if you want, real world examples, just look at Vietnam and the Middle East right now. We're still in the Middle East. Calling that fighting. 20 years later. Sure, you're right. They don't use AR-15s. They use AK-47s and rocket propelled grenades. And they're not nearly as well armed as Americans. So, yeah, good luck, motherfucker. But he also talks about, another point he made was brought up Baltimore a lot in his speech. Was the guns are from outside the city, right? That was one of the things I think the mayor of Baltimore was telling him was that, well, we have strict gun laws, but we can't, eliminate all weapons that come from outside the city. He states some ridiculous fact, like 80% of all weapons used in homicides or murders come from outside the city. So, even if you're correct, and let's take this train of thought down the line. You ban guns nationwide. Cannot own a single thing. One, we already have something like 400 million guns in rotation, in existence in this country. So we have more guns than we have people. So don't sell them, that's fine. We still have more than enough, right? And when you're going to go door to door, kicking people's door down and take their guns, yeah, good luck. I would love to see that happen, right? So you're not going to get rid of the guns that are here. But then you just have a bigger problem, right? If Baltimore is having these issues with weapons coming from outside of their city, which is what, Chicago says the same shit. Every big city, well, we're gun-free zones, but we can't control the weapons outside. I'm like, okay, you can. So we ban guns across the United States. Can't be sold here. Well, we already have prohibition on marijuana, right? But this war on drugs, we still have something at our southern border. It's called cartels, and they make a shit ton of money bringing that into the United States. So, what's to prevent them from running guns and just selling them to the United States? And, well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna tell Mexico to ban guns too? Yeah, fucking right. So, this whole idea of, well, if we just outright ban everything and prevent, then it doesn't do anything, right? Nothing happens there. Boom. Done. Dumb argument. It's the same argument, and the thing is, you're like, well, they make this argument about abortion. They're like, well, you can't ban abortion because then you'll just have, people getting unsafe abortions in the back alley. Well, you can't ban guns because you're just going to get people who sell unregistered ghost guns in the back alley. So either your argument is invalid because they're stupid, or it's completely valid because it's the same argument that they use on abortion. Your choice, Democrats. Which one is it? Either we ban guns and ban abortion, which I don't agree with, but by your logic, your argument is invalid. Or you keep guns and you keep abortion because you can't really stop them all from happening. Also, one of those is a right in the Constitution. We talked about it, right? Get weapons of war off the streets, blah, blah, blah. He talks about, his great assault rifle, or oh, I'm sorry, what was the name of the assault weapons ban? That was it, of 1994, right? Regulate high capacity magazines. He makes a dumb joke about, well, you're not shooting a deer with a bulletproof vest, are you? You don't need 100 rounds. No, but the 100 round mag isn't for the deer. It's for that asshole that tries to kick in my door at 3 a.m. Yeah, self-protection is another big thing that people kind of avoid talking about when they get into this shit, right? Self-defense, like, I own a weapon. I use it mostly for self-defense, and I go shooting and I enjoy it, but I like the fact that I know if someone comes in my house or my apartment and I don't know who they are, I can defend my own. But if the government wants some too, start that. And they talk about, like, well, you don't need this type of magazines, particularly in AR-15s, these weapons of war. Most shootings are committed with handguns, right? And you're like, whoa, 10 round mag, like, whatever. My point being is limiting the ammo capacity doesn't stop it from being just as deadly, right? So you gotta reload more. Fine. I don't agree with it, but if you think that's gonna be what works, no, doubt it. So, but we'll give it a try. We'll cut back on magazines. So Biden, I'll give you that one, right? I'm not saying I think it's right. I'll concede that if you want to do a high capacity magazines legislation, I'm not going to say you're stupid. Actually, in a way, it kind of makes sense, depending on what you actually want your firearms for. Hunting, you don't need more than a few shots. But when you come to like handguns, home defense stuff, what a lot of people buy weapons for. I think that we need to discuss the limitations on that. Require background checks for all gun sales. Guess what? It's already a thing. It's already law. Today, an estimated 1 in 5 firearms are sold or transferred without a background check. Yep, you're right, because this is from the shady people that already don't abide by your laws. So this is stupid. Has nothing to do with anything. Gun show on this will close the so-called gun show and online sales loophole that the Biden administration narrowed, but which cannot be fully closed by executive order action alone. Yeah, you're right, and it also can never be closed by legislation, because you're still going to have that guy that's like, hey, you want to come take a look at my stash and open up his trench coat, whatever, or back of his car, and sell you a firearm. This happens in your city. So you think gang members go to gun stores and buy registered firearms? One, a lot of them can't because they're felons. Two, that would take a lot of time. Also limits what they can get. They can't buy AK-47s, MAC-10s, all this other shit that you see that some of them have. So this whole require background checks for all gun sales, doesn't work because people sell guns without background checks through illegal channels. But if I was going to break this down a little bit later, but let's talk about background checks. Maybe, and this is part in here too, about making sure they're done properly, which is ironic, seeing as Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's own fucking son, should be in prison because he committed a felony when he falsified his background check to buy his firearm. He asked about his drug use, and he said there wasn't any. Well, guess what, motherfucker? The world knows about your Parmesan cheese addiction. You fiending for the feta. Oh yeah, I gotta get that shit right. So yeah, we already have background checks. But and this is a case of it shows where we need to work on the law. And I think that maybe prosecuting and fulfilling the laws that we already have in the books is a better way to start with this whole gun control debate. Like, I understand, and I recognize that there is an issue, but I don't think that more legislation targeted at law-abiding citizens, which is who this affects, is the answer, right? Particularly when you can point to instances of larger issues where most of, like, I always talk about mass shootings. Mass shootings are committed with illegal firearms, or they have broken some law that isn't in place to conduct the shooting. And so you just want to add more red tape and more red tape and more red tape. And all you're doing is you're shrinking the law-abiding citizen category. You're turning them into criminals, but also making it harder for citizens to obtain more firearms. The people that are doing the things, for the most part, don't abide by laws anyway. So you're not preventing them from doing anything. Okay. So yeah, but background checks, we already have them. Like, so maybe we should work on enforcing laws that we have in the books, so that people like Hunter Biden, who lie, are prosecuted. Yeah, sound good. Yeah, that ain't never gonna happen. Mental health, cause of hate loot crime. Only sell of firearms, ammunition, kits, and gun parts. Well, you still gotta do background check online. Ammunition, who gives a shit? It's ammunition. It says kits, like these are like build your own kits, like your lowers and uppers and stuff like that. No? Yeah, let's just go with no. Like, this does nothing. It literally, you still gotta do background checks to buy firearms online, right? Background checks have to be done legally in the United States. You have to have a background check to purchase a firearm. Okay? So this will not do anything except prevent accessibility, which I'm not here for. Okay? There you go. Create an effective program to ensure individuals become prohibited from possessing firearms to relinquish their weapons. Yeah, let's not say we did and then don't. This basically is, hey, when we decide that you should not own them, that you relinquish them peacefully. One, no, and no, nope, not on that. Because here's what happens: then you just change the law where someone like me who, like your law, yeah, me, like a person like me who owns a firearm, and then you implement your high capacity magazines, right? And they have a 100-round mag, let's say, somewhere in their basement. Well, you're like, well, those are outlawed, and you don't put a grandfather clause in. Therefore, you say you turn this in, or you're a criminal, right? And if they don't relinquish it peacefully, then you're like, well, we're going to go take it. So your law turns them into a felon, and that's not right. Simply because you don't fucking think that what they're doing is correct. Like, they shouldn't be punished for that. So I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a good thing at all. No. Nope. Blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on. And then one of the more interesting things I found, though, that Joe Biden talked about was funding for police. So he kind of brought up the point, that one of the ways to lower gun control or lower gun violence was, have more cops on the street, and that I think it was Baltimore again, might have been, but we're going to talk about them anyway. That they needed more police funding, which is funny. Because in his statement he says that funding was cut due to economic crisis, right? No, funding wasn't fucking cut due to economic crisis. Funding was cut because of the woke bullshit of defund the police that happened across the country, right? And it was agreed to by these big cities. And now they're suffering the consequences. And this is part of your terrible policy of the entire last year. And that means, guess what? Looking at you, Trump. You're part of that issue. We had rioting. We had looting en masse. Cross country. Major city after major city after major city. It happened almost everywhere, right? Had it in small cities, small towns. Death, destruction, and just pure hate. Visceral hate everywhere. And it was over the death of George Floyd. Did a video on that already, but Derek Chauvin did recently get, I think he was 22.5 years in prison was his sentence. So that's all over with now, right? It's time for healing. But part of that healing was to defund the police, and then you also saw police leaving in mass droves because they were arresting people and they were getting put right back on the streets, right? These looters, these rioters, and nothing was happening. There's stories fucking wide and left about it, all over. So for Biden to sit up here and say that the funding for the police is due to an economic crisis, it's just bullshit. He knows it. You know it. I know it. Okay? So don't buy into that. After all this, the record violence, and that's part of the rise, right? So you have this state of city, or the cities are now in a state where they don't have the police they need for the population, right? So crimes go unfettered. This is why when you look at San Francisco, I believe is one of the big ones right now, they have created a shoplifting law where it's like up to $949. They're not going to pursue it. So you get Walgreens literally being shut down. There's a viral video about this the other day. Some dude in a fucking trash bag, walking out with a trash bag or some shit out of a Walgreens. And they can't stop him. And so, and that's part because of the police presence. People decided that, we're gonna go lax on crime. Well, guess what? When you go lax on crime, it fucking spikes. Fucking Chicago, right? Ends 2020 with 969 homicides. It's gonna probably surges. Or 769, sorry, I said 900. I apologize, my bad. And why is that important? Well, after 3 years of falling homicide totals, 2020 ended with 769 homicides, 274 more than the previous year, and the most since the 784 homicides in 2016. The latest shooting victims figures told the same story this year, ending with 4,033 shooting victims, compared with 2,598 the year before. So you see a surge in gun crime, right? But no one wants to ever fucking blame the real problem. We're going to say, well, it's because, they bring guns from outside our city, outside of our jurisdiction. And they'll be like, well, with the police, they don't have enough funding. Yeah, well, you cut the funding. 2, you've had terrible gun laws to begin with. If you look at places that have higher gun ownership, they have less crime. They have less murders. Looking at you, New Hampshire. Got you, baby. So, there's a correlation there. But we don't ever talk about that. There's also a correlation between gun-free zones and gun violence. Right? Where do shootings happen? Schools. Military bases. What's happened there? Public places. And you shouldn't have a gun, right? So, do you see a causation here? Like, it's pretty fucking simple. When there's fear of retaliation, it happens less. That's why you see, and the thing is, it's not just murders are going up. Carjackings are way up. Way, way, way up. Because people don't give a shit. They know that there's no police, and nothing's going to happen to them, right? But that's on you. That's on your terrible policies. That's on the shit you let happen. That's what the government let happen. They sent the country to hell in a handbasket. and now they're reaping the rewards, and they want to bitch and moan about it. The thing is, this gun control is one of the worst issues for Democrats, because guess what? People like it. People like guns. This last year was a record year in new gun purchases for Black Americans. Fuck yeah, I'm here for that shit. Oh, it's like my crack. Give me more. Give me more of that feta. You got any more feta, fucking Hunter? Let's go. Hit that Parmesan. But no, seriously, gun ownership's great. Particularly, and they're like, you want to talk about, well, the black community's, very marginalized community. They suffer all these, indecencies. Guess what? Legal gun ownership going up. It's going to help prevent that. Because they're victimized by their own people. But if we make it like kind of a common thing for a black man to have a gun, and it's a known thing, I guarantee less people are going to break in their house, less people are going to do other stupid shit. Because they're going to know, hey, if I do it, I'm probably not walking out. But it's such a great thing, right? But I want to end on a high note, and something that I feel we do really need to discuss, and I think it will help, and I think it's a great point that Joe Biden brings up. And that is, he talks about felons and, rehabilitating them, and like kind of the prison programs. I think he says, we can't just send them with a bus ticket and $25 and be like, expect them to be good. And we can't. And this is part of prison reform, which I'm here for. And I don't think, I'm not in the AOC camp where, well, we built more prisons, so they're gonna, they're just gonna fill the seats. No, we built prisons because there's criminals that need to be in prison. And that's a whole other issue we get into with all the shit that all the people they fucking released, and the repeat offenses they've committed since then. But this issue is something that I think we do need to address. One, felons, you can't own a firearm. I feel iffy about that. I think there's a case-by-case basis that should maybe be looked at. I know it's going to be hard to do, but also the way we treat felons and the people coming out of prisons and jails, like, we need to have a better support system for them so that they don't go back into these communities. Obviously, they're probably coming from broken communities to begin with, so they don't fall back into these old habits. They don't go back to the gangs that they came from. We need better what's the word I'm looking for? Better programs for these people, apprentices programs, stuff like that to help them get on their feet and get them out of these terrible situations. Otherwise, it's just going to be repeat offenses. It is what it is, and that's a hard truth, so we got to buy it. And so I like the fact that Biden brought it up on this point. But that's a bigger issue that doesn't just boil down to guns. It does fall and overlap in that realm. So I'm glad Biden brought it up. But come on, man, you're not gonna nuke your own people. Well, you might, 'cause you're a fucking old idiot, but logically, no. I think that's about it. I think that's all I got. Oof, going real long today. It's half an hour. Sorry, guys. But if you sit through all this, I appreciate it. I thank you very much. If you like the content, click the like button, subscribe, and follow me, and I'll be back to you at least by next week, maybe sooner. I think I got something else brewing I want to do a video on, but I appreciate the support, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day.